this. I know we lost the bit of the stream here, but I have no monitors right now either.
You're fine.
All right, I guess I'm going to go without monitors here. So we are back online and ready to go. Anyway, where were we when all this blinked here?
Oh, you were talking about the COVID
We were talking about the case.
numbers. You were talking about numbers. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it just where were we? We were talking about where the cases were on everything,
hmm
and I
Well,
can
California. Sorry.
go ahead.
California just launched testing for antibodies. So for people that think they've already had it, and hopefully that'll. They say it might be done within 2 months. That's about as long as the whole social distancing is supposed to be going on. So hopefully they'll get a jump on it.
So I want to ask you this, based on the fact that you are actually out in California and you get to see some of what's going on over here. What do you see on the fact that because Los Angeles is probably just about as densely populated as New York State is. Maybe they're spread out a little bit more, and I think some of the Bay Area is going to be about the same way. But California had a much lower caseload total than New York did. I mean, New York is just about wiped out at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your take on the fact? What might be the cause of the fact that this was
I think it might be that they took the social distancing very seriously, and I think that a lot of the people that live here um, can take being more isolated, if you know what I mean. Because Los Angeles and New York seem like a very party type,
Mhm.
a party social area where everybody likes to go out. Everybody is so closely packed together, so they spend a lot of time together. Here, it's you do get a lot of people going out, a lot of parties and such, but you also have a huge amount of people that just stay indoors, and I'm one of them. So that could be it. It could be as soon as they heard that this virus was going around, a lot of people just took it upon themselves to not go out, to do their best to isolate before they were mandated to do so.
So you're thinking that may be a part of it. I have wondered myself along this entire thing is if this is going to be like a regular flu where being out in the warm weather is going to kill all of this. And I know Shapiro was talking about this initially when he was first talking about this. Like, okay, well, once the cold weather is out, the sunshine and everything else is going to eliminate this. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but it is an interesting thing to think, especially given the fact that, like I said, LA and Los Angeles and New York are similar in population, but it hit New York so much harder. But it was also much colder in New York at the time than it was in Los Angeles.
Well, two things. One, there is some merit to saying you wait until the summer comes around because it's warmer out and people tend to have stronger immune systems during that time, so you're able to fight it off.
Right.
And two, there is a lot of speculation going around that a lot of people already had it. A lot of people
Right.
already had the COVID, and including me. I think I already had it back in November. But you work through it. If people that didn't know what it was probably just thought it was just a really bad flu due to the symptoms and just stayed home. And now they're healthy, and now they have those antibodies swimming around in them, and they don't need it, or they don't need to social distance. They're probably not terribly worried about it.
Yeah, I'm actually not. I'm not sure if I had it or not, but I'm thinking I did too. I For a little while I had a little bit of tightness in the chest and a little bit of a sore throat. I've had a lingering sore throat all winter, just right up
Mm-hmm.
in the sinuses and right in the back of the throat, and it has not gone away from the beginning of the winter. So I do wonder myself if I didn't have it at some point as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, we thought it. My husband and I thought it was a sinus infection at first, but it was a very painful sinus infection.
Yeah.
It hurt to breathe, and it was painful. Not like a punch to the face painful, but like if you have those buzzer things, those joke buzzers, and it does that shaking feeling. It was kind of like that, and I felt that's what it felt like to me. Again, I don't know if I had it. I would like to test for the antibodies in case I did. Maybe I can, use my health for good, help others that might have it.
Yeah, because they're talking about making a serum now that comes from the blood of people or the plasma people who have had it because of the antibodies, just like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot more people had it than you think, more than that everybody thinks. You might have had it already.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much asymptomatic that goes along with this as well. And like you said, you can either think it's a severe flu, or you can have nothing at all, or it can throw you in the hospital and spitting up pink fluid, or however else Tim Pool's been trying to make the panic talk about this.
Oh, Tim. I haven't been able to listen to him lately.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder myself. Even at double speed, it's just like, okay, you're going to say the same thing over and over again. Either fear
Yes.
porn or Donald Trump is going to win.
And not picking a stance on anything.
Milk
I
toast
get it, you
sensitive.
want to be objective. Yeah, I know you want to be objective and just be a journalist, but at the same time, I'm tired of hearing you saying, look, I get this, and blah, blah, blah. Tim, come on, just give me the news.
So, as long as we're here and talking about the numbers, let's talk about the projection drop that we had this past week. So, of course, we talked about a week ago that the projections were that 100,000 to 240,000 people were going to die from this. And now it came out from the mouth of Dr. Anthony Fauci that we could possibly be looking at only 60,000 people passing away from this.
Well, that's very optimistic.
What do you think is leading the cause the decline in numbers, though?
The current numbers now. Everybody said the spike is going to happen in the future, like we're going to hit our peak soon, and right now it seems to be leveling off already.
Once again, from a lot of people that have already had it and possibly didn't show any signs or possibly immune to it already. Yeah, I do think that this is going to be a lot more widespread than a lot of people thought it was going to be. And 60,000 people, that still sucks, but I mean, that's nowhere near the 2 million people that we were thinking about back in January when Hexenhammer started talking about this. And that was
Well, most of his predictions have been correct, too.
Yeah, it's a little bit eerie how he does that, especially given his history with witchcraft.
Yeah, I know. He was saying that stuff in Amsterdam is starting to open again.
Yeah.
Slowly. It's not like, all right, everybody go out and do whatever. It's a slow process. Like, these stores are allowed to open. We'll start opening these types of stores in May and further down the line, but it's something.
Well, I know just breaking today is the fact that now the West Coast states are coming out, and I don't have anything prepared on this, of course, but the West Coast states are starting to form a coalition, and this is just like the last couple hours of trying to get themselves open because it seems like they've already seen the worst of it. California, Oregon, and Washington have come together to form a Western coalition to try and combat this and get the economy open.
I mean, personally, I think if you feel like you're at risk, you should be the one staying home. You shouldn't be forcing everybody else to stay home. But that's just me.
Well, and I know too that some lady I commented on Twitter, and I think she blocked me after that because usually I get a snarky response for something like this. But she had something out there that said, "Well, I'm not ready to go out into the COVID cesspool to go back to work." I said, "Well, 16 million people filed for unemployment in the last 3 weeks, so there's somebody else waiting for your job right now. Just so you know."
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are saying it's selfish to want to go out now to work. Saying, like, you'll selfishly put other people at risk. Like, well, how? Okay, if you want to leave and assume that risk, then that is you assuming that risk. I'm going to assume that risk if I leave, and I don't care. But they say it's not to overwhelm the hospitals.
Which don't seem like they had any problem from this to begin with. I mean, the emergency hospital they set up in Seattle never saw a single COVID patient.
Yeah, like, remember New York? They said they had, like, so many extra beds that they needed at one time. But, hindsight's 2020.
So I want to move off of the numbers here because I know that you've kind of got a heart out here. So let's keep moving on here. I want to talk a bit about this war on chloroquine. It seems to be an add-on that we put onto every show so far because the mainstream media definitely doesn't want that to get out there and talk about. And some of the war talk has faded off over the past few days, I've noticed. I think they're trying to keep that out of the news at this point because they're losing on it. But One of the stories that came up last week really, really caught my attention right away. And of course, if you listen to Shapiro and Poole, you already know this one. But it came to be known that Trump was making money off of this. Last week we talked about Mika Brzezinski coming out and claiming that Trump was going to make money on this. Well, it turns out he is actually invested in a company that makes chloroquine and thousands of other things because it is in a mutual fund that his family is invested in. Now, they trace the numbers, and it looks like he could be as low as $99 invested in this company and as much as $1,500 invested in this company
That seems pretty low.
for a billionaire.
Yeah. So what's their point? Like they think that he caused this whole panic and global pandemic so he could get a return on his $1,500 investment?
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it's that they think he's pushing this drug that they're trying to convince everybody isn't going to work for anything. He's pushing this drug because he's going to make money off of it.
Oh, or else he's out $1,500.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me.
Well, yeah, like I said, he is a billionaire, and this is a part of a mutual fund, so there's a good chance he had no idea he was even invested in the company
Yeah,
whatsoever.
possibly. I think when you have your all that money and you have your fingers in so many pies, some things just get lost. Especially now when he's running the country.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the big thing of, follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. And, well, we followed the money, and this is what we found out. So, yes, it is true officially that he is standing to make a little bit of money off of this, but it's not a whole hell of a lot.
Well, what can he really return? What would be his return with an investment that low? He probably doesn't have even 1% worth of stake in that.
Well, it's probably $1 million or $2 million mutual fund, or probably even more than that at that point. And it's just
Well, who
something that
else-
an investor.
Yeah, just point to the investor. And then it'll come out that he's like super racist and pees on Russian hookers too.
Russian hookers. I
Don't
love
think of something. My Russian.
that. So, going back to, you were just talking about a bit about everything going back to normal at some point here. On Thursday, Dr. Fauci said that schools could possibly be back in session for the fall semester, which
Yes.
goes along with the idea of things actually going back to normal and, the most vulnerable people staying out of it, but for the most part, everybody else going back in. And this doesn't talk about the economy at all, but there are things that surround the schools. Of course, the school buses will have to run, the maintenance, the teachers will have to go back in. But of course, the other side of that is that, yes, once the schools start to go back into session, the economy can open back up. And I said right at the beginning, once people started having remote classes and schooling at home, I said, this isn't going to last. There's no way this is going to last because there's no way the state is going to let their students go without having that sweet, sweet state education and indoctrination.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know some college students are still doing their stuff via internet anyway.
Do you
So I
think?
don't know about the slowdown on that, but I think teachers still have to do work online as well. Like they're still able to give out assignments to their kids
Well,
over the internet.
because my girlfriend works in a special education. She's not a teacher; she's a special education assistant. And yeah, she's been doing work from home just to do that, and working with other teachers to try and help the students that are in the special education program get through and get their stuff taken care of. So yeah, they're still doing plenty of work from home. It's not like they've just had a 3-month vacation off of this.
Yeah, that's true. And I wonder how this is going to change the game with education as well. Are we going to see a rise in homeschooling or
That is
school
something I've
from
been
home?
asking since they shut down the schools. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and I wonder if parents think, okay, well, I can do this, and I don't want to risk them going out getting another disease or being taught something I don't want them to be taught. I mean, why not?
Well, and the other side of it too is, right now we've got enough online resources that homeschooling
Yeah.
is actually a viable option for a lot of people because, what do you got? You've got a device in your pocket that will bring you any piece of information in the world at your fingertips instantly. And there are
Yeah.
there's courses out there for free from education systems that because they want you to have that state-run and state education. But we're also looking at the other side of it, and this is something I've asked a lot of people. I asked almost everybody that came. I think I asked you when we were on the charity stream. Was what do you think that the telecommuting does to the nuclear family, and do you think that helps do homeschooling?
I don't know if it helps, but I do think it's helped. It's allowed people to kind of weigh that option if it was something they were considering before. So maybe they can, now that they're in a situation where they have no choice in the matter, they can gauge, okay, this can be done, or no, this can't be done. I would rather send them to the school, or I would rather teach them myself if I'm able to do so. And no one's really thinking about what it does to the children, because why do a lot of people opt for public education outside of it's a place to put my kid during the day while I go to work? But for others, it's a matter of socializing them,
Mm-hmm.
getting them around children their own age, making friends and making connections, picking up on social cues, so to speak.
Well, and I said a lot
So
of the
no
same.
one's,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, go on. No, that's it.
I was going to say, I said a lot of the same things before I was a proponent for homeschool, before I realized just how bad the indoctrination was the fact that, I mean, your diploma at this point, your high school diploma is completely worthless. And it was when I graduated in 2002. It was completely worthless. I looked at the diploma. It wasn't going to get me anywhere. It wasn't going to get me a job or anything. It wasn't like the 70s when a guy could drop out of high school in 10th grade and go get a job right away because high school education, high school education actually meant something and they actually taught you something when you were in it.
Mm-hmm.
By the time No Child Left Behind was put into place and all these other programs to dumb everything down for everybody, I mean, your diploma is something you could piss on, but it was a point where you could go back and it was socializing you. And, I felt that before I was a proponent of homeschool, that was an important thing for people, that they weren't getting the social skills if they were homeschooled, but
Well, that, and you're also stuck in school with a bunch of sociopaths. And it's true, because I think children and teenagers, they really are just a bunch of sociopaths, self-serving, don't realize what they can do,
mm-hmm.
can cause harm. And, what happens when somebody gets bullied in a public school? It keeps happening until somebody fights back, and then the person that fights back gets in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And people wonder why they don't want to send their kids to public school anymore.
Or the kid that gets bullied grows up, turns 30 years old, and starts a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. The girl that got bullied and moved to California.
Midget B actually hit your point a little bit before you did, and he said right in the chat, public schools are daycares.
Yeah,
And that's
pretty
absolutely
much.
true.
Yeah. It's the parents that really pay attention to what you're learning and making sure you're getting your work done and taking a more active role and having visibility of what the kids are doing. But that would probably do a little bit better. It's the parents that don't care. Is like, just go to school. Why aren't you at school today?
Mm-hmm. Well, given the fact that